Lin Dong's expression suddenly turned grim, with a hint of ferocity that caused Mu Lingshan, standing nearby, to pause in surprise. She quickly asked, "Lin Dong, what's wrong?" Lin Dong slowly shook his head, but his eyes remained fixed on the three figures standing on the distant thunderclouds. He hadn't expected to encounter members of the Yuan sect here. From the way they looked at him, Lin Dong understood that they likely already knew who he was. So, the Yuan sect's reach has extended even into this Chaos Demon Sea. Lin Dong's eyes flickered with a chilling light. This was his first encounter with people from the Eastern Mystery region in the Chaos Demon Sea. Since we've crossed paths, it's hard to just pretend I didn't see them. A trace of killing intent flickered across Lin Dong's face. There was a deep-seated resentment between him and the Yuan sect, and judging by how those three carried themselves, they harbored ill intentions. Lin Dong wasn't opposed to collecting some interest from the Yuan sect for the time being. From their bodies, Lin Dong vaguely sensed considerable power, a force perhaps even stronger than that of Pang Hao. Clearly, these three were not simple members of the Yuan sect. "Lin Dong, do you have a grudge with those three?" Mu Lingshan, who had noticed the trio, asked quietly. Lin Dong nodded gently. "Do you want to make a move?" Mu Lingshan gripped the life and death coffin lid tightly, her large eyes gleaming with excitement. "Not for now. The most important thing is to enter the Thunder Palace first." Lin Dong shook his head slightly. Although the presence of the Yuan sect stirred a desire for violence within him, he understood the importance of priorities. Above all, the Thunder Ancestral Talisman was paramount. Upon hearing Lin Dong's words, Mu Lingshan reluctantly reined in her excitement. Lin Dong pulled back his ominous gaze, his face smoothing back into an unreadable calm. No one could discern his thoughts at that moment. "Heh, we've been spotted, huh?" Quite an intimidating gaze. Looks like he does have some skill after all. As Lin Dong retracted his gaze, the three figures on the thundercloud chuckled, their laughter tinged with a mocking undertone, not at all perturbed. "Boss, when can we make our move?" The silver-haired man smiled slightly, looking at the man with a streak of white hair falling over his forehead. The man with the hanging hair heard this and merely smiled faintly. His dark eyes were unsettling in their lack of focus. "No rush. Let's get into the Thunder Palace first. We have a mission on this trip." Hearing this, a strange gleam of black light flashed in the silver-haired man's eyes. He then whispered, "Is the master really here?" "Most likely." The man with the hanging hair nodded slightly. He then glanced toward Lin Dong in the directions of the Nine Nether Sect and Shenyang Palace. "Moreover, we need the keys to those 3 silver towers." "Understood." The other two men smiled, as though taking the keys from Lin Dong and his companions was an easy task. Seeing this, the man with the hanging hair said no more, crossing his hands behind his back and turning his indifferent gaze toward the imposing Thunder Palace, where black light flickered in his eyes. Meanwhile, elsewhere among the thunderclouds, a figure cloaked entirely in a red robe silently surveyed the strong forces gathering around the Thunder Palace and chuckled softly. "Looks like there's quite a gathering of unusual characters. Interesting." With that, he turned his gaze toward the Thunder Palace, and then, as if he had vanished into thin air, he disappeared with a ripple in the space around him. "Lin Dong, why isn't anyone entering the Thunder Palace?" Mu Lingshan asked, glancing around. By now, the thunderclouds were teeming with strong fighters, yet peculiarly, none had made a move to enter the palace. The Thunder Palace is surrounded by a layer of thunder aura, which is weakening. They're waiting for it to dissipate, Lin Dong explained. Upon hearing this, Mu Lingshan understood and, looking closely, noticed the faint patterns of lightning surrounding the palace. These patterns, like rippling water, were gradually fading. Time slowly passed, with the sound of wind breaking occasionally echoing as more powerful figures arrived, adding to the liveliness of the thunderclouds. As more strong individuals gathered, the thunder aura surrounding the palace continued to weaken under their watchful eyes. Then, after about 10 minutes, a slight cracking sound resonated, and the thunder aura completely dissipated. At the moment the thunder aura vanished, The previously bustling thunderclouds suddenly fell silent as the eyes of many strong fighters filled with unconcealed greed. Suddenly, the tense silence over the thundercloud was shattered by a voice filled with greed. Immediately, the calm fell apart as several powerful figures, consumed by desire, launched themselves toward the Thunder Palace perched atop the stormy expanse. Lin Dong gazed indifferently at the eager warriors, remaining unmoved. Those unable to suppress their greed often met swift ends. Whoosh, whoosh. Over 100 figures streaked across the sky at an astounding speed, heading directly for the grand doors of the Thunder Palace. In mere moments, they reached their target. Boom. A surge of primordial energy split into hundreds of streams, tearing through the air and crashing onto the massive silver gates of the Thunder Palace with a thunderous roar that echoed across the heavens. Bang! Under the relentless assault of so many powerful beings, the silver gates exploded open instantly, releasing an ancient aura from the once sealed palace. After a millennium, this sacred hall was exposed once more to the outside world. Charge inside. Seeing the Thunder Palace's doors obliterated, a wild joy filled the eyes of many warriors. They dashed forward with urgency, driven by greed, yet still maintained protective barriers of primordial energy around them as they advanced. Lin Dong's gaze stayed dispassionately on the scene, but as the leading figure rushed toward the Thunder Palace, a sharp glint flickered in his eyes. Boom! Like a clap of thunder, a violent explosion echoed from within the palace, and 3 streaks of silver light shot forth like destructive bolts of lightning, slicing through the mass of warriors at lightning speed. Even Lin Dong's eyes widened slightly at their swiftness. Crash! 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 The silver streaks tore through the sky, crashing and tearing into the crowd. Wherever the silver passed, bodies exploded into blood mist without warning. Within a short span of breaths, those at the forefront were eradicated, leaving behind only a dense, bloody haze lingering before the Thunder Palace. The metallic scent of blood filled the air, causing many warriors to recoil in shock and fear. "What are those things?" Voices exclaimed in terror as primordial energy surged defensively within their bodies. Lin Dong fixed a grave gaze on the 3 silver lights. After massacring the warriors with astonishing speed, the lights gradually revealed themselves before the palace. They appeared as 3 entirely silver figures, their bodies covered in the ominous demon marks previously seen on Zhuofei. A sinister, powerful black aura radiated continuously from them, chilling the atmosphere considerably. Lin Dong exhaled lightly. These 3 demon corpses, as Zhuofei had mentioned, represented the remaining 3 Thunder Kings. In life, they attained perfect completion of the death mystique stage, and even in death, they retained the might of great completion. Earlier, just one such demon corpse at great completion had driven numerous warriors to desperation, but now, 3 stood in their path. "Looks like entering the Thunder Palace won't be easy," Lin Dong muttered, eyes focused on the figures blocking the entrance. 3 silver-enshrouded figures hovered before the palace, spreading an overwhelming malevolent aura that unsettled many. "More damned puppets!" exclaimed Pang Hao and Lu Xiangshuan, recognizing the threat. They had encountered such foes at Thunder Lake, where a single one was troublesome. Facing 3 now was daunting. These silver figures matched 3 formidable warriors at great completion of the death mystique stage. The oppressive scent of blood gradually dispersed in the sky. Under this eerie stimulus, the greed-clouded minds of many warriors cleared slightly, and none dared to rush forth. Everyone sensed the deadly power of these silver corpses. Their earlier wave of over 100 warriors had been effortlessly decimated, cautioning the rest against reckless actions. Demon marks? The 3 from Yuan's sect observed the silver corpses with a strange smirk. They chose not to confront the threat head-on, instead waiting to see how others might deal with these formidable barriers. With the greed in many hearts now cooled, calm returned outside the Thunder Palace. Eyes flickered as warriors pondered how to tackle the looming challenge. Lin Dong remained silent. Numerous strong figures were present, each wielding impressive strength. There was no need for him to seek attention or take unnecessary risks. Silence did not last long. The Nine Nether Sect and Shintian Palace exchanged glances, and under the gaze of many, they calmly stepped forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Pang Hao addressed the crowd. Our common goal is to enter the Thunder Palace and seek its treasures. The area fell silent. All the powerful figures had their eyes fixed on Pang Hao, yet no one uttered a word. They understood that since Pang Hao had stepped forward, he must have a plan in mind. To the best of my knowledge, someone began. These 3 silver corpses each possessed the prowess of the great completion of the death mystique stage. Engaging them head-on would likely result in significant losses for us. Upon hearing this, a few among them couldn't help but show a hint of concern. Against 3 silver corpses of such strength, they faced a daunting challenge. Brother Pang Hao, do you possibly have a workable idea? A voice from the crowd inquired. Pang Hao responded with a faint smile. We do indeed have a strategy to deal with these silver corpses. However, it requires the assistance of all the strong individuals present here. Without everyone's support, it would be difficult. His words caused a mild stir among the thunderclouds above, even prompting Lin Dong to raise an eyebrow. Could it be that the Nine Nether Sect truly had a way to handle these 3 silver corpses of such formidable strength? Haha, if Brother Pang Hao has a solution, that's excellent news. Our goals are aligned. As long as we can get rid of this obstacle, offering our aid wouldn't be an issue, some of the practitioners said with a chuckle after pondering for a moment. They were relieved that they wouldn't have to confront these formidable foes directly. Pang Hao's smile broadened at their response. With a twist of his hand, a white disk appeared, emanating powerful energy fluctuations from its surface, a testament to its formidable nature. This here is the Nine Nether Spirit Suppressing Disc, a treasured artifact of our Nine Nether Sect. Once activated, it forms the Nine Nether Spirit Suppressing Formation. With the formation, we should be able to hold these 3 silver corpses at bay for several days, providing us ample time to navigate the Thunder Palace repeatedly. The Nine Nether Spirit Suppressing Formation? That's the sect's protective formation. Setting up such an array usually requires the power of over a dozen experts at the Death Mystique stage. And compressing it into a disc? That takes extraordinary skill. Few in the Nine Nether Sect could accomplish this. Pang Hao has indeed come prepared. As Pang Hao's words faded, murmurs of surprise spread among the surrounding crowd. It seemed that many had heard of this prized artifact in Pang Hao's possession. Lin Dong gazed at the luminous white disk in Pang Hao's hand with evident astonishment. He too sensed the impressive energy emanating from it, and couldn't help but be impressed at the magnitude of its power. Although it didn't quite match the ancient cosmic formation within him, it was undeniably formidable, more than enough to suppress the silver corpses for a few days. Activating the formation requires considerable primordial energy. For that, we will need to rely on everyone present, Pang Hao said with a smile. The crowd nodded knowingly. It was clear that Pang Hao wished to harness their power instead of expending his own to subdue the silver corpses. No one objected, recognizing that only Pang Hao possessed such a formation. Lin Dong watched this unfold with an indifferent expression. If Pang Hao was willing to use the formation to suppress the silver corpses, he was more than content to benefit from it. However, as Lin Dong considered this, he noticed Pang Hao's gaze turn towards him, an unsettling smile on his face. However, since I can't maneuver the formation with complete precision, when the time comes, we'll need 3 individuals to lure the silver corpses into the formation, Pang Hao suggested with a sly smile. His words caused many present to tense up. This was undoubtedly a perilous task. None were keen to volunteer to deal with the merciless silver corpses. Currently, there are 3 silver corpses. The Nine Nether Sect and Shintian Palace will handle one, but we need someone else here to lead the 3rd into the formation, Pang Hao continued, still smiling. Silence reigned. No one volunteered. They clearly had no desire to take on such a dangerous role. Seeing this reaction didn't surprise Pang Hao. He calmly shifted his gaze to Lin Dong, who was watching him coolly. Everyone, Pang Hao addressed the group. Previously, we encountered a silver corpse similar to these. At the time, it pursued Brother Lin Dong, but he managed to elude it. Therefore, I believe he is best suited for luring the 3rd silver corpse into the formation. At his words, All the gazes atop the thunderclouds instantly turned towards Lin Dong. The revelation that Lin Dong had escaped a silver corpse at the great completion of the Death Mystique stage astonished many. So Brother Lin Dong is that skilled? Naturally, this task is best suited for you. Indeed, Brother Lin Dong, we're counting on your help. Around them, many powerful individuals exchanged knowing glances and chuckled. Some were aware of the tension between Lin Dong and Pang Hao, but they showed no interest in intervening. As long as they weren't forced to confront those silver corpses themselves, they didn't care who did. That bastard! Mu Lingshan gritted her teeth in anger, her big eyes blazing. Clearly, Pang Hao was targeting them again. Lin Dong's face remained impassive. Pang Hao's methods were truly ruthless. He was coercing Lin Dong into taking on this dangerous task. After all, the formation was theirs, and Lin Dong had garnered the support of many strong figures present. If Lin Dong opposed him, he'd become everyone's target immediately. And then, Pang Hao could easily incite others against him, given that many had their eyes set on the silver tower key in Lin Dong's possession. In this world, there's never a shortage of those willing to kick someone when they're down. Brother Lin Dong, what do you think of my suggestion? Pang Hao's face held a smiling expression as he looked at Lin Dong, evidently hoping for an outraged rejection. Such a reaction would cast Lin Dong into a highly awkward position among those present. Many eyes locked onto Lin Dong, with a number of them carrying ill intentions. Lin Dong, however, seemed oblivious to the surrounding gazes. He focused instead on the smiling Pang Hao. After a moment, a smile appeared on Lin Dong's face as well. He nodded slowly. Let's proceed as Brother Pang Hao suggests. An unexpected flicker of surprise crossed Pang Hao's eyes as he watched Lin Dong agree so easily. It seemed he hadn't anticipated such a straightforward acceptance. Brother Lin Dong truly considers the bigger picture. But his surprise quickly vanished, replaced once again by a smile, albeit one that carried an unmistakable chill. Lin Dong remained unfazed, simply smiling at Pang Hao. Then I'll ask Brother Pang how to activate the formation. Pang Hao gave a nonchalant smile and raised his hand. The disc in his hand, emitting a soft white glow, burst into radiant light. Beams of light interwoven in the air, seemingly forming the outline of an expansive formation, though it was still incomplete. Ladies and gentlemen, please channel your primordial energy into the formation, Pang Hao said, turning towards the many strong cultivators, smiling. Upon hearing this, the cultivators nodded slightly. Immediately, a surge of vigorous primordial energy whistled out, transforming into numerous beams that shot directly into the formation. Buzz, buzz. As the energy poured in, the formation erupted with intense light, resonating with mighty primordial energy. What had been an ethereal formation began to solidify, emitting an astonishing energy fluctuation. This formation is indeed intriguing, Lin Dong observed, his eyes narrowing slightly. This so-called Nine Nether Spirit Suppressing Formation, serving as the sect protection formation for the Nine Nether sect, truly possessed some remarkable qualities. While the formation was taking shape, the three silver corpses guarding the Thunder Palace sensed danger. Within their dark eye sockets, a ripple of movement appeared. Please act now. Pang Hao's easygoing voice carried across. Following his words, the gray-haired elder from the Nine Nether sect and the middle-aged man from Shintian Palace soared into the air. Powerful primordial energy surged around them as faint black death energy emanated. Clearly, both were genuine Death Mystique stage experts. Some of the cultivators noted the two Death Mystique experts and raised their eyebrows. These significant forces truly had depth. Such experts couldn't be summoned casually. Brother Lin Dong, Pang Hao said, eyes narrowed as he watched Lin Dong. Lin Dong shot him a cold glance, refusing to engage in idle talk. With a swift move, he soared into the air, where the gray-haired elder and the middle-aged man also turned but said nothing before launching themselves towards the silver corpses. Boom! As they engaged with the silver corpses, powerful waves of primordial energy spread through the air. The ferocity of the exchanges was enough to make one's heart race. Despite the intensity, it was clear to all that the gray-haired elder and the middle-aged man were at a disadvantage. Both possessing only minor completion of the death mystique stage, they naturally struggled against the two great completion silver corpses. However, their current task wasn't to defeat the silver corpses, but merely to stall them. Witnessing this, several sympathetic glances turned toward Lin Dong, who was heading for the third silver corpse. The elder and middle-aged man, with their minor completion status, were already losing ground to the silver corpses, while Lin Dong himself was only at the great completion of the life mystique stage. In the face of these scrutinizing glances, Lin Dong appeared unfazed. His figure dashed toward the third silver corpse. Observing the demon marks etched across its body, a serious expression emerged across his face. This thing was no easy opponent. Roar! The silver corpse, sensing someone approaching to thwart it, showed no restraint. It let out a beast-like growl, and an overwhelming surge of black energy morphed into a dozen black chains, snaking towards Lin Dong like venomous serpents. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed as the silver corpse attacked. The wings of the azure dragon unfurled from his back, with 10 azure dragon light patterns faintly slithering across them. As the wings flapped unexpectedly, his figure blurred. Swish! The black chains pierced through the air with lightning speed, viciously tearing through Lin Dong's body. Gasp! The crowd was taken aback for a moment, seeing Lin Dong struck. Could he not even withstand a single blow? Yet, the astonishment didn't last long, as they soon realized the silhouette that had been pierced began to fade away quietly. A mere afterimage? Many sharp-eyed observers turned abruptly, only to see a figure reappear 1,000 feet away. It was Lin Dong. What incredible speed! Some of the stronger individuals exchanged glances, a trace of amazement flickering in their eyes. Even they had failed to perceive how Lin Dong had managed to retreat. Such speed was truly astounding. Pang Hao's smug expression faltered momentarily at this sight, his eyes turning sullen. He could sense that in the short time since they last crossed paths, Lin Dong's power seemed to have elevated significantly. At their prior encounter, Pang Hao certainly hadn't sensed such an astonishing speed from Lin Dong. His strength seems to have increased, though he's still at the great completion of the life mystique stage. But there's a more dangerous aura about him, whispered Lu Xiangshuan, her beautiful eyes fixed on Lin Dong in the distance. How could his power surge so suddenly? A strong member of the Xintian Palace couldn't help but inquire. Lu Xiangshuan bit her red lips gently, an inherently alluring gesture. Her eyes shimmered, and then as if she had a sudden realization, a flicker of surprise emerged from her deep gaze. Could it be? Has this guy acquired the heart of thunder formed by the silver corpse? Boom! The silver corpse in the sky surged forward fiercely, black energy swirling like a tempest, fast as lightning, in pursuit of Lin Dong. Yet, despite the pursuit, Lin Dong refused to engage with the silver corpse. Instead, his wings of the azure dragon gradually extended, growing to over 12 meters wide. From afar, the wings appeared substantially larger than Lin Dong himself, providing a striking visual impact. As the azure dragon wings underwent this transformation, Lin Dong's speed also elevated to a formidable level, quickly equaling that of the silver corpse, which, despite its many strengths, clearly lacked speed. With Lin Dong's cunning evasive maneuvers, although there seemed to be danger in the sky, he never truly engaged the silver corpse in a direct fight. In contrast, the other two battlefields saw the gray-haired elders occasionally forced into direct confrontations with the silver corpse, where it clearly held the upper hand. If not for their own strength at the minor completion of the death mystique stage, they might have fared much worse. This unexpected scenario surprised many. No one had anticipated that Lin Dong, even at the great completion of the life mystique stage, would manage to fare better against the silver corpse than two stronger practitioners. During this extended standoff, the formation in the sky gradually took shape, 3 light rings forming quietly. Pang Hao's eyes grew darker watching the formation develop. Clearly, this was not the outcome he had anticipated. Brother Pang Hao, is the formation nearly ready? Just as Pang Hao intended to delay the completion of the formation, a discerning voice suddenly called out. Those present were no fools, and any shady tricks Pang Hao had in mind would prove difficult to execute here. Hearing these words, Pang Hao's mouth twitched slightly. He could only suppress his anger, nodding with a forced smile as he altered his hand seal, speeding up the formation process. Everyone, lure the silver corpses into the rings. Pang Hao shouted firmly. Reacting to the command, the two gray-haired elders, already looking somewhat ragged, swiftly dashed toward the light rings. As they passed through, the two silver corpses charged right into the rings as well. As the two silver corpses rushed into the circle of light, two straight beams of light suddenly shot out, unfurling across the circle like circular lightning. The beams extended until they closed rapidly as the two gray-haired elders tried to exit the circle, forming a towering pillar of light that trapped the silver corpses within. Swoosh! As the two silver corpses were confined, Lin Dong led one more silver corpse into a third circle. Watching this, Pang Hao's eyes flashed with a sinister light. A quick change in his hand seals caused the beams to close even faster. Gasp! The audience was in an uproar, clearly seeing Pang Hao's intent to trap both Lin Dong and the silver corpse together. Swish! Lin Dong glanced at the rapidly closing beams, his eyes glinting with coldness. Evidently, Pang Hao had malicious intentions. Lin Dong quickened his pace to the utmost, yet the light closed in relentlessly. With only a few meters left between the beams, Lin Dong abruptly twisted midair, facing the pursuing silver corpse and launched a ferocious punch. Boom! Force exploded against the void ahead, shattering the air with a burst of kinetic energy. This force propelled Lin Dong backward like a beam of light, shooting him out through the narrow space between the beams amid the surprised gasps from the onlookers. Crash! The beams closed into a perfect pillar prison. The silver corpse slammed against it, but could not budge it an inch. Exhale. Lin Dong's azure dragon wings behind him slowly dissipated. He exhaled lightly, watching the silver corpse trapped in the light pillar, then turned a steely gaze towards Pang Hao, whose expression had grown stiff. Lin Dong offered a slight, but chillingly fierce, smile. Pang Hao flinched at Lin Dong's menacing smile. He forced a smile and said, "Brother Lin Dong, what impressive skills, managing to hold off a silver corpse of great completion in the death mystique stage with your own life mystique stage power. Your skills are still superior, Brother Pang Hao," Lin Dong replied with a smile, though his eyes betrayed his murderous intent. Pang Hao had consistently set traps for him since they met, intent on putting him to death. Such actions made Lin Dong see him as a target to eliminate. "You shameless bastard!" A shouted accusation filled with anger rang out from behind Lin Dong, as a small figure leaped forward, brandishing a life and death coffin lid. She swung viciously at Pang Hao. Pang Hao's eyes flickered, but he did not retaliate himself. Instead, the gray-haired elder sprang forward, swiping with his bony hand. Magnificent primordial energy, laced with traces of dark light, surged fiercely towards the assailant. Clang! The life and death coffin lid and the elder's palm collided with a thunderous boom. An overwhelming wave of energy rippled forth, knocking the petite figure backward. "Humph! Such an impudent little girl!" The gray-haired elder sneered coldly at the retreating Mu-Ling Shan. "It's not your place to talk about manners, you old dog." Lin Dong's gaze turned completely chilling. Surging azure dragon energy erupted from him, accompanied by a sharp command, "Ling Shan." At his call, Mu-Ling Shan nodded, tossing the life and death coffin lid to Lin Dong. He caught it and channeled massive primordial energy through it, swinging hard as black waves of energy burst from the lid, engulfing the gray-haired elder. Death energy? The elder's eyes narrowed as the black energy rushed in. He punched forward, amassing a massive fist-shaped force that crashed against the dark wave. Bang! The loud clash reverberated, tearing the thunderous clouds apart with wild energy ripples. Lin Dong remained expressionless, body steadfast. Suddenly, the life and death coffin lid lifted, and he swung his right leg like a giant axe, powerfully striking the lid. Swoosh! Under Lin Dong's tremendous kick, the lid transformed into a black streak, tearing through space at astonishing speed towards the elder. "Fool!" The gray-haired elder scoffed as Lin Dong launched the life and death coffin lid. He couldn't hide a flash of greed and disdain in his eyes. The lid was clearly a potent spirit treasure, and the death energy Lin Dong previously wielded was its doing. Since you're so eager to give away your treasure, it would be rude of me to refuse. The gray-haired elder clasped his palms together, and with a surge of primordial energy, they transformed into two giant hands, reaching out to seize the incoming black light. Boom! The giant hands clamped down on the black glow, but an incredible force emanated, causing a stalemate with the life and death coffin lid, which struggled intensely. Lin Dong's gaze was cold as he watched the scene unfold, completely uninterested. His icy eyes suddenly shifted toward Pang Hao. Then, with a quick movement, he vanished from where he stood. Seeing Lin Dong disappear, the expressions on the 9 Nether Sect experts changed instantly, realizing that Lin Dong's true target wasn't the gray-haired elder but Pang Hao instead. He had deliberately thrown the life and death coffin lid to hold the elder at bay. "You brat! How dare you!" the gray-haired elder shouted angrily, realizing something was amiss. However, he was entangled with the life and death coffin lid, which was emitting a bizarre force that made him hesitant to break free. Lin Dong ignored the elder's loud voice as if unheard, and with a flash of his body, he appeared in front of Pang Hao, whose expression darkened. A sinister grin curled at the corner of Lin Dong's lips. Boom! Without any hesitation, Lin Dong launched a punch. As his fist cut through the air, 30 azure dragon light patterns spiraled around his arm, unleashing a fearsome dragon's roar that echoed around them. The combined force distorted the surrounding space, leaving the experts from the 9 Nether Sect in shock. "You really think I'm afraid of you?" Pang Hao, pushed to fury, responded viciously. His eyes turned savage as he unleashed all his primordial energy. Netherworld White Bone Palm. With a furious shout, Pang Hao's palm turned jade-like and bone-white, exuding a chilling aura. Clearly, the Netherworld White Bone Palm was a formidable martial art. Boom! The fist, wrapped with azure dragon light patterns, crashed into the bone-white hand. A low, grating noise resounded, ripping through even the thunderclouds above. Bang! In that thunderous moment, a horrific scream and the sound of an explosion rang out. The crowd watched, eyes narrowing, as one of Pang Hao's arms exploded into a mist of blood. His body flew backward, like a kite with its string cut, while several 9 Nether Sect members who tried to intervene were blown back, coughing blood from the transferred force. Hiss! The audience was struck with shock at this outcome. Who would have thought Lin Dong could shatter the arm of Pang Hao, who had achieved the perfect completion of the Life Mystique stage, with just one punch? Lin Dong's strength was clearly much more powerful than in their battle half a day ago. Moreover, his decisive and lethal methods left the observers astounded. He seemed young, yet his actions were chillingly ruthless and efficient. Even the gray-haired elder couldn't have predicted that Lin Dong would be able to devastate Pang Hao this severely, even while intercepted by a master at the minor completion of the Death Mystique stage. "You brat, you're courting death." The gray-haired elder roared in rage, shifting his focus to attack Lin Dong with a fierce claw swipe. Whoosh! Lin Dong unfurled the wings of the azure dragon at his back, swiftly retreating and effortlessly evading the elder's attack. He landed lightly on top of the life and death coffin lid, gazing indifferently at the enraged elder and the incapacitated Pang Hao, just settling a small score. If you're willing to scheme, you should be prepared to be outsmarted too. Heh, if your 9 Nether Sect plans to delay me here, that's fine. But perhaps the treasures in the Thunder Palace will have nothing to do with you. Lin Dong smirked, his casual remark freezing the charging elder in his tracks. At that moment, with the 3 silver corpses constrained and the Thunder Palace's doors wide open, the vault seemed an irresistible temptation to the assembled warriors, their eyes gleaming with desire. "Kid, once this is over, I will make sure you wish for death over life," the gray-haired elder threatened harshly. "Feel free to try." Lin Dong responded with a faint smile, dismissing the threat. With a wave of his sleeve, the life and death coffin lid flew towards Muling Shan, who snatched it up. Behind him, a wave of powerful warriors moved upon hearing the news. Instantly, their figures streaked toward the Thunder Palace, which had been sealed for 1,000 years, like a swarm of locusts. Whoosh! Lin Dong was the first to charge into the open Thunder Palace. The moment he stepped inside, an ancient aura overwhelmed him, as if he had traveled back in time to a millennium ago. Upon entering, the first thing that caught his eye were the immense, labyrinth-like corridors that crisscrossed the palace. On either side of these corridors were tightly shut stone chambers, their contents a mystery to all. Lin Dong scanned the complex passageways, his eyes quickly fixing on one particular path. He knew that while there might be treasures scattered throughout the Thunder Palace, he was only focused on one thing: obtaining the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. According to Zhuofei, the Thunder Ancestral Talisman was located within the Thunder Realm, and the entrance to the Thunder Realm was within the Thunder Palace. It stood to reason that the main hall would be the most probable location for the entrance. It was the main hall that Lin Dong was determined to reach. Ling Shan, follow me. With a plan set in his mind, Lin Dong wasted no time. He called out to the swiftly approaching Ling Shan and then transformed into a green streak, speeding like lightning towards the depths of the Thunder Palace. As they dashed forward, the sound of rushing wind filled the air behind them, and a horde of figures swarmed into the Thunder Palace, shattering its millennium-long silence. With the influx of warriors, the place suddenly became noisy. Eyes filled with greed eyed the various passageways, and figures darted forth to ransack the ancient stone halls. Head to the main hall. A pale-faced Pang Hao led the 9 Nether Sect warriors inside, his bleeding arm now staunched but still contorted with pain, a vengeful look tightening his features as he glared at the spot where Lin Dong had disappeared. Elder, once we're done here, I want Lin Dong torn to pieces. Pang Hao growled at the gray-haired elder by his side. Don't worry, he won't escape, the elder replied grimly, his face clouded with anger. Lin Dong had humiliated him by maiming Pang Hao right in front of him. Even though a cultivator of the life mystique stage could theoretically regenerate severed limbs, the disgrace was unbearable. Let's move. With a face twisted with malice, Pang Hao rushed forward. They, too, ignored the possible treasures elsewhere and headed straight for the main hall. Behind them, members of Xintian Palace also followed in quick succession, along with other formidable practitioners who began to arrive as well. Clearly, everyone knew the true treasures lay in the main hall. The 2 light figures swiftly coursed through corridor after corridor. Along the way, Lin Dong and Ling Shan did not pause for even a moment, despite sensing unusual fluctuations from some of the stone chambers. Lin Dong's only target was the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. After about 10 minutes of relentless movement, they abruptly halted, their eyes ablaze with anticipation. Ahead of them lay a vast stairway, and at its end stood a magnificent silver hall, serene yet imposing. This grand hall was the most splendid structure within the Thunder Palace. Clearly, this was the destination of Lin Dong and his companions, the main hall of the Thunder Palace. Whoosh! With a passionate gleam in his eye, Lin Dong didn't hesitate. Lightly touching the stairs with his feet, his figure soared like a giant rock, effortlessly leaping up the stairway until he stood inside the grand hall itself. The hall was enormously vast, spanning thousands of feet, dwarfing anyone inside like insignificant ants. The grandeur and majesty naturally inspired a sense of awe. Within the hall stood rows of massive stone pillars, and atop these pillars hovered spheres of light, sparkling with lightning. Within these shimmering spheres could be glimpsed scrolls, weapons, and more, all radiating powerful energy. These items were undeniably formidable spirit treasures and martial arts techniques, some on par with mid-tier pure primordial treasures. The Grand Hall was indeed the essence of the entire cavern abode. So many treasures, Ling Shan exclaimed in awe, her big eyes fixed on the glowing spheres atop the massive stone pillars. Lin Dong nodded, about to speak, when he sensed a multitude of approaching presences behind them. More figures arrived, eventually gathering in the main hall. As the formidable figures arrived at the Grand Hall, they naturally noticed the glowing orbs scattered throughout. Immediately, a gleam of excitement ignited in some of their eyes. Charging straight for the main hall had indeed been the right decision. Lin Dong over there? Ling Shan's voice rang out suddenly, tinged with surprise as Lin Dong observed the incoming contingent of strong individuals. Turning at her words, Lin Dong followed her gaze to the deepest part of the grand hall, where a massive statue, approximately 100 feet tall, sat enthroned. Draped in battle armor, the statue's face was stern and imposing. An extraordinary aura seemed to exude from it, not a tangible presence, but an inherent quality of the statue itself. The statue's eyes shone brightly like silver, as if concealing a world of thunder within them, with faint crackling sounds echoing out intermittently. Under the aura emitted by the statue, Lin Dong found his breath catching ever so slightly, and his gaze grew serious. If just the statue commanded such presence, he could hardly imagine the true thunderous majesty of the actual being it represented. Surely, none other than the Thunder Emperor, whom Zhou Fei had mentioned, could possess such a commanding aura within this ancient dwelling. Lin Dong's gaze swept over the colossal statue before abruptly shifting to its right hand. Grasped within that hand was a silver scepter, from which shimmering streams of thunderlight flowed continuously, enchanting in its magnificence. Yet, Lin Dong sensed an overwhelming power emanating from this scepter, strong enough to stir deep emotions. This scepter was not a mere decorative piece, but rather an exceptionally potent, pure, primordial treasure. Staring at the silver scepter, Lin Dong felt his heart contract slightly. He could feel that it was as formidable as his heaven-burning cauldron, another mighty spirit treasure in his possession. All the treasures hidden within the orbs throughout the grand hall paled in comparison to the silver scepter held by the statue. Lin Dong exchanged glances with Mu Lingshan, and both could see a glimmer of excitement in each other's eyes, understanding the unmatched value of this item. The Thunder Emperor's scepter? Just as Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan realized the extraordinary nature of the scepter, a voice filled with excitement rang out from behind them. Thunder Emperor's scepter? Lin Dong's eyes flickered at the mention. The voice belonged to Pang Hao and Lu Xiangshuan, who seemed to have some knowledge about the silver scepter. From their atypical exuberance, Lin Dong gauged the immense significance of the silver scepter before him. "Move," he uttered in a low, sharp voice. Instantly, both he and Mu Lingshan darted toward the statue's hand, reaching for the silver scepter. "Stop him. We must secure the Thunder Emperor's scepter," Pang Hao shouted as his expression changed, his voice laced with alarm. "Take action," Lu Xiangshuan swiftly commanded. In a flash, the forces from the Nine Nether Sect and Shintian Palace moved in unison, heading straight for the silver scepter in the statue's grasp. Their rapid actions naturally caught the attention of other strong individuals present. Everyone quickly realized that the real treasure was indeed the silver scepter held by the statue. Their eyes ablaze with fervor, they surged forward.